This is the DAR Today podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Bullmaster Stewart. Well, we are so happy to be back from our big road trip all over the country. It was so great to be able to talk with so many DAR members, and we really want to express a special thank you to all of those who were willing to take the time. Even those we couldn't work out our schedule, they sent in their own videos, and hopefully you enjoyed many of those last week when we published those. We can't wait to show you the DAR events that we were able to attend as well, and we'll show those in the next couple of months. But for now, we've talked a lot about history on this podcast, especially lately. We've talked about historic places and historic events that have happened in our country. But what's neat is we continue to create history even today, don't we? You think about, we've talked about our four founders of our society lately, and think about what they would think about all of the work that DAR members are continuing to do even today. It's really quite something. And you think about perhaps some of those daughters in the decades to come, looking back at what some of these state societies, chapters are doing. It's leaving a neat legacy, I think, and we're going to talk about some of those states and chapters today. A quick note, though, before we dive right in, as our country prepares for its semi-quincentennial, of course, America's 250th birthday, our DAR Society has produced an America 250 quilt. It's gorgeous. Each of the states have submitted a square on this quilt. Each state took so much time to figure out the colors and the symbolism that would be in their square, how it would best represent their state. It really is quite something. And so the DAR has actually made, from the image of this quilt, they've made a puzzle. And it makes a great gift. And I know a lot of you are planning your Christmas list already. And it would be a neat thing, don't you think, as a gift for perhaps your chapter regent or your state regent, or maybe a new DAR member, or even just a lover of American history like we all are. It'd be a neat gift. So to make it easy for you to purchase, if you'd like to, we'll add a link in the show notes, and it'll be easy to find that online. So I would highly recommend that. We have another special announcement in today's episode. There's a little hint for you, perhaps. So look for that a little bit further on in the episode today. Of course, we always like you to subscribe to this podcast. It really does make a difference how the word about DAR, about this podcast, gets out to the public, the more you all subscribe. In fact, our dear President General will often ask me how we're doing on subscribers. I would love to, and wouldn't this be fun, to be able to let her know about you as a new subscriber, or if you've been subscribing for a while. So if you are, or if you do subscribe, go ahead and leave us a comment or leave a review and let us know that you subscribe. We'd love that. And I know I say this just about every time, but hey, thank you so much for being here with us today. We're really happy you are. Guam's Vietnam War Fallen Heroes Memorial Wall has had a checkered history. Built in 2005 by the Vietnam Veterans Association to honor Guam's Vietnam War fallen. It was abandoned in 2012 and rescued in 2014 by the fledgling DAR chapter, which set to work removing rubbish, restoring names, and painting the wall. These efforts were an improvement, but it was obvious a more extensive restoration would have to be done at some point. Then came the Category 3 typhoon, which struck the islands in May of 2023. It was devastating both to the people and the island's infrastructure. The wall was among the typhoon's victims. Before the typhoon occurred, the chapter had finally set aside enough funds to completely repaint and restore the wall. They had also hired a graphic artist to design and do the work on the wall, but the wall first had to be water blasted, scraped, ground down in places, and replastered in other places. The chapter members worked with a local paint store that provides paint for large commercial buildings, and also worked with the military in order to find the best type of long-lasting paint. The green paint that was used has ultraviolet protection and is graffiti-proof to help keep the wall from being defaced. After the wall was finished, a clear coat was placed on top to provide the wall further protection from weather and from road grime. A type of UV-protected, long-lasting vinyl sticker was used for each name. chapter members compiled the list of all of Guam's sons killed in the Vietnam War. Before sending the information finally to the printer, they proofread the listing multiple times, making sure that the name was spelled correctly, the date of death was correct, and that no name was left out. In the wall's new design, the shade of green used by the Vietnam Veterans of America Association was chosen. The names were previously listed in alphabetical order. The refurbished wall lists them by date of death. In addition, the size of each name was made much larger. Rather than a cross between each name, they used a lat stone, a symbol of Guam's ancient Chamorro people. They also added to the wall the Purple Heart's emblem, which had been bestowed to each of Guam's sons. The last major change was the elimination of the Vietnam Veterans of America Association's logo and the addition of the Mariana Islands Chapter DAR logo.
I'm with the Mariana Islands Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, and we're about to put flags in front of every one of our fallen Guam sons who gave their lives during the Vietnam War. This is just a tremendous honor.
The result of all this work and dedication is amazing, and we're so very proud of these dedicated DAR members there in Guam that helped make this possible. If you'd like to support the work that the Mariana Islands chapter does there in Guam, be sure to look at the Units Overseas chapter on our members' website. We'll leave a link in the show notes for you. Almost 250 years ago, 56 men risked their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to defy the British and signed what they believed would bring them relief over the tyranny of an unjust government. One of these men, John Morton, who died shortly after signing the Declaration of Independence, was ostracized by family, friends, and neighbors for his life-changing decision. As Morton predicted, it wasn't until after his death that those from Pennsylvania realized what a great service he had rendered for his country. Sadly, almost 250 years later, some have forgotten Morton's heroic act. And Old Swedes' burial ground in Chester, where Morton is buried, has fallen into disarray. That is, until the Pennsylvania State Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, decided to make this precious cemetery's historic preservation and restoration its 3-year state project. As a result of the leadership of Pennsylvania State Regent Marguerite Fritsch, who has a long-time personal connection to this cemetery, this forgotten gem has been getting some much-needed respect.
I'm Marguerite Fritsch. I'm the State Regent of the Pennsylvania State Society, Daughters of the American Revolution. We are here on the site of our state project at the Old Swedes Cemetery in Chester, Pennsylvania. This is the site of John Morton's grave. John Morton is one of the 7 signers of the Declaration of Independence from Pennsylvania, and the only one buried in a cemetery that is not cared for. We're here today on our DAR Day of Service with over 60 volunteers to help uncover and restore and preserve this site for future generations. This site is special to my heart because as a new DAR member in 1986, I started coming here to lay a wreath on John Morton's grave every Memorial Day. My children have been raised coming here on Memorial Day and laying that wreath every year since 1986. It is a place that's near and dear to my heart. It's a place that needs to be saved. It's a place of historic importance, and I'm so grateful to have all those wonderful volunteers with me here today.
Mrs. Fritsch has been spearheading the work of chapter members to volunteer their time here to see that the cemetery was beautified. They especially came together to participate in a statewide day of service at Old Swedes Cemetery. Their efforts involved a range of activities, including the removal of sod around gravestones, the sifting of soil from exposed stones and markers, the identification and collection of fragments, and the application of a microbial lifting agent on stones with heavy lichen and carbon residue. The hope was for their combined efforts to result in a place of rest, befitting all souls buried there, creating a beautiful respite in a busy 21st century world. By undertaking this mission, volunteers also helped instill a renewed sense of pride in Chester's historic pre-colonial role as the first city in Philadelphia, its designation as one of the first landing places of William Penn, and its pivotal role in the Revolutionary War. Thanks to their hard work and dedication, there's no doubt Old Swede Cemetery will be restored to its former glory, ensuring that it remains a testament to the area's rich and vibrant history for generations to come. You might remember that I was saying that I had another special announcement coming up in this episode. Well, here's one having to do with their Units Overseas chapters. The National Executive Board approved the expansion of the Units Overseas Committee through the organization of the Hercules Mulligan chapter in Dublin, Ireland. The founding regent is Valerie Bronson. Mr. Mulligan was an Irish tailor to George Washington who eventually turned spy for the Revolutionary forces, and it seemed fitting to affix his name to a chapter based in his home country. For those of you who have relatives located in country who have yet to become daughters, please encourage them to get on board now and join with organizing chapter members. For those interested in supporting this chapter from afar, we will all have the opportunity to become associate members, so when timely and appropriate, the information will be provided. Please wish the organizers of this potential new chapter well as they gather members, complete necessary paperwork, and widen our DAR reach to a new spot on the globe. And for those starting the Hercules Mulligan chapter, we just have to say, G'nai Rilet. That's good luck to all in Gaelic. We leave you today with this quote by William Murtaugh. At its best, preservation engages the past in a conversation with the present over a mutual concern for the future. Well, thanks for listening and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the stars and stripes forever, and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. Well, this podcast was written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, and we are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance. To Marguerite Fritsch and Karen Frank Zetterberg in Pennsylvania, to Rebecca Malmo, to Pat Music and Sherry Thorne Salima for their incredible Daughters Abroad newsletter, and to Machelle Craig Leon Guerrero in Guam for being so generous with their time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a non-profit, non-political volunteer women's service organization dedicated to preserving our American history, securing the nation's future through better education, and promoting American patriotism. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today podcast.